There was a moment in Hollywood when Steve McQueen looked at Chuck Norris, the martial artist he trained with, and seemed to see something almost nobody else saw. Not just a karate champion, not just a tough guy, but someone who might actually belong on the big screen. And yet, the story that has circulated for years about McQueen supposedly telling Norris, "I could take you in a real fight," comes with a problem. The exact quote is difficult to verify. What we do know is that McQueen and Norris had a genuine connection through martial arts. McQueen trained under Norris, and the two became friends. Norris later credited McQueen with encouraging him to pursue acting when he was uncertain about entering Hollywood. At the time, Chuck Norris was already a serious martial artist. He had built his reputation through competition and had become a highly respected karate champion. Steve McQueen, meanwhile, was already one of Hollywood's biggest stars. That difference made their friendship unusual. One man was known for movies, the other was known for fighting. And then there was Bruce Lee. Bruce was another close connection between the two men, creating a remarkable circle of Hollywood stars and martial artists during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Norris eventually met Bruce Lee at a martial arts tournament, and the two became friends and training partners. But McQueen's influence on Norris was different. He didn't simply admire Norris's fighting ability, he believed Norris could become an actor. Norris himself later recalled that McQueen encouraged him to try acting, even though Norris had never taken an acting class, and wasn't convinced that Hollywood was for him. That advice changed everything. Norris eventually stepped into movies, and one of his biggest early opportunities came from Bruce Lee in 1972. Lee cast Norris as his opponent in The Way of the Dragon. Their confrontation in the Roman Colosseum became one of the most famous martial arts scenes ever filmed. But here's what makes the McQueen connection so interesting. Before Chuck Norris became the action star audiences recognized, he was already surrounded by people who understood something about him. Bruce Lee recognized his martial arts ability. Steve McQueen recognized his potential as a performer, and Norris had to decide whether he was willing to leave the world he knew and enter one where he had almost no experience. He eventually did, and the result was remarkable. The martial artist who had been encouraged by a Hollywood star became a Hollywood star himself. Years later, Norris would become famous for films such as Good Guys Wear Black, A Force of One, Missing in Action, and eventually Walker, Texas Ranger. So the real story may be less about whether Steve McQueen could actually beat Chuck Norris in a fight. There is no solid evidence establishing that exact confrontation or quotation as historical fact. The more important story is what McQueen actually did. He saw potential in Chuck Norris before the rest of Hollywood fully understood it. And sometimes, the person who changes your life isn't the person who defeats you, it's the person who looks at you and says, "You can do more than this." For Chuck Norris, Steve McQueen may have been that person. And without that friendship, the Hollywood career of one of America's most recognizable martial arts stars might have looked very different. That is the part of the story worth remembering, not the legend. The influence. And the moment one famous man recognized another man's future before he could see it himself.